Hi, welcome to Summer Ball Talk. I'm Joe Compton with Isaac Deere from TopSports.news and the Manhattan Mercury. This is the first episode of our podcast, but we're going to talk a lot about summer ball, mostly concentrated in Kansas, but also throughout the country. Isaac, how are you?
Joe, I'm doing pretty good, man. Just got that fresh summer ball game last night, just getting started with everything. But now that everything's starting to ramp up and college players are getting in, teams are starting to practice, everything's been pretty good. Crazy high school sports season, but now I'm ready to get in with you with college baseball this summer. It's always one of my favorite times of the year.
Yeah, we'll get into that game that you were at last night a little bit later, but have you been following any of the other summer ball leagues not concentrating in Kansas or the Midwest?
Yeah, I mean, there's been some leagues that I've been kind of paying attention to here and there. The Coastal Carolina League, always. I've been kind of looking through with that. Obviously, they bring a lot of attention to themselves. It's always fun to watch. But throughout the country, I've been kind of keeping my eyes out on a few different leagues. As our podcast grows and as the seasons go by, I can't wait to get in with you about some of these different leagues and highlight some really special players throughout the country that I've been kind of keeping close attention to. But here in Kansas, I've just been on a couple different leagues. But now that you and I both are kind of expanding our reach with some of these other leagues throughout the country, I'm really thrilled to kind of get to cover that with you.
Yeah, so we were going to start by talking about just a few of the changes in our leagues in Kansas, because obviously change is a thing that happens every year, and none of our leagues are strangers to change. So starting with the Mid-Plains League, the Topeka Golden Giants have left the league and will take a year off, and they are being replaced by the Topeka Farmers.
Yeah, and the Topeka Golden Giants were one of the founding teams in the Mid-Plains League, but with new ownership wanting to build a new stadium and reach out and branch out and get more players and just kind of expand their brand. They're taking a year off this year, but the Topeka Farmers coming in, similar to the Sabetha Bravos, is going to be majority international players, which is always great for the league. Brings kind of a new flavor, a new spunk to the style of baseball. The Mid-Plains League itself has such a variety to the league. You look at a team like the Kansas City Monarchs, which has guys 30 and 40 years old, and then you have a team like Sabetha or the Farmers, which is a lot of guys from the Dominican Republic or Venezuela playing in that league, and then you have small town Kansas boys and a few other teams. It's such a good variety of teams. But yeah, with the Topeka Golden Giants coming out, Topeka Farmers coming in, it definitely won't hurt the league. I'm excited to see kind of the new brand of players that the Farmers are bringing in under the leadership of Edgar Santos, who has been the manager of the Sabetha Bravos for quite some time. He wanted to branch out and find a new team this year, and he did just that. And he's bringing that international flavor to Topeka this year. So that should be a blast to see. I know you and I were talking earlier, Joe, but I think that's always good for baseball, just to kind of change things up and keep you up on your toes and stuff. So it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having double the international teams, and like you said, the variety and diversity that you get in the Mid-Plains League is unrivaled even throughout the country. So moving on to the Sunflower Collegiate League, they had a lot of changes. First and foremost, the Newton Rebels and the 316 Sluggers have merged to become the Newton Sluggin' Rebels. So it's essentially still a Newton team, but they have merged their name and their identity to become one team. And 316 Elite 18U has come to fill in the 316 Sluggers' old spot. In addition to that, the Andale Warhawks are out, and they've been replaced by the Wichita Lobos. And then the Sunflower Seeds have rebranded to become the Kingman Islanders.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean that Rebels team, the Newton Rebels team, has been around for so long. I think that'll be interesting to see. I think that the Sluggers merging with the Rebels, I think that's always good. You get your good, kind of your best players merged with your best players, and that's always good. And the Sunflower League itself is so fun to watch. But the Sunflower Seeds becoming the Islanders, and then like you mentioned, the Lobos were replacing the Warhawks. The Sunflower League should be an interesting watch this year, especially with the 316 Elite fill-in. I think that it's always good to have kind of just that fill-in team in there to, the more variety with these leagues, the better. As we're going to see with the Mid-Plains League, it's like the more change, the better. But, yeah, man, I'm really that's something I keep saying this, and it's kind of repetitive a little bit, but the Sunflower League should be one of the best in the state, and kind of with the Mid-Plains League and the Kansas League and others, which we'll get to later. I think it'll be one of the best leagues in the year for sure.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to keeping up with the Sunflower League and bringing you all their coverage. So now we're going to move to the Kansas Collegiate League, which also had its fair share of changes. The Midwest Moos have found a new home in Winfield, and then the El Dorado Walnuts are the new franchise team. They're replacing the old El Dorado Broncos, who had to cancel their season at the very beginning last year. And then probably the biggest change is that the Dodge City A's and Liberal BJs have moved to join the Hayes Larks in the Colorado-based Rocky Mountain League.
Yeah, and then that should be interesting. I know that you mentioned the Walnuts coming in to replace the Broncos this year. The Walnuts will have their first game tomorrow night against the Wildcats, and I think that will be interesting to watch. I know the Kansas Canyons are in that league too, but with the Midwest Moos and Dodge City, Kansas League's always really competitive, and Kansas Canyons are a really good team, and the Walnuts and all these other and the Vikings, and that league has expanded so much, and it's grown quite a bit to the point where you're going to get some really high quality players, and that Kansas League's going to be legit, and I think the move to Winfield and is going to be I think it's going to be good for the league, because Winfield's always got such a good supporting cast there. So, but Dodge City and Liberal leaving, I think that they don't lose a whole lot. They have quite a bit in their arsenal. So, I mean, it'll be fun. I think the Kansas League's always competitive, and it'll always bring a lot of fun to the fan bases. So, I don't think, even with those two teams leaving, I don't think people have to worry too much about things on kind of a competitive front. So, yeah, the Kansas League's always good, but this year it's going to be, in my mind, even better.
Yeah, Kansas League I don't think is going anywhere, but the Rocky Mountain League obviously still gets. Those are two big acquisitions with Dodge City and Liberal, which are storied teams in Kansas.
Yep, the Dodge City and Liberal moved from Kansas League onto the Rocky Mountain League. Is going to be fun. I think that Rocky Mountain League, kind of like what I mentioned with the Kansas or the Sunflower League, it's like it's going to expand. It's just going to keep on growing. I think summer baseball in general is just really taking off in the state of Kansas. You've seen, in large part to the Mid-Plains League efforts and Kansas's efforts and Sunflower's efforts, is like it just keeps on growing, and the name keeps getting bigger, and they get better players every single year. So I think that Rocky Mountain League's in pretty good shape as well.
Yeah, so now that we've highlighted all the new changes to the leagues, we're going to start by previewing each league in Kansas. We're going to start with the Mid Plains League. At the time of recording this, Sabetha Bravos and the Midwest A's have already played. It was at Sabetha, and the Midwest A's won 4-3. Isaac was there. So what can you tell us about that game?
A lot of new faces in Sabetha this year. Sabetha, for the large part, has returned quite a few players over the years, but this year, not a single returner is on the team this year. So it was a different Sabetha look. But Joe and I were talking a bit off air. It's like Midwest always returns guys. The Midwest is such a storied franchise in that league. But last night the A's they prevailed over Sabetha late in the ninth. They had a 4-3 lead with runners on second and third, and Teron Williams, who was a Topeka Golden Giant last year, closed things out for the Midwest A's, and they were able to hold on for a 4-3 win. But Sabetha's team looks different. Last night, I guess in the game, a part of the 4 runs that the Midwest A's had, Kurt Golubski, the first baseman for Midwest, he had a solo shot out to deep right field, and he's one of the veterans of the Mid-Plains League. He's been around for 3 years, and he's going to be one of the expected leaders for this summer team. But Kurt Golubski really, not a surprise. A beautiful left-handed swing, but he crushed Sabetha's kind of hopes yesterday. But Sabetha's team last year had six come from behind wins last year, and last night they had the opportunity. They were very, very close, but it was just in Midwest's favor. But Midwest is going to be a great team this year. I think with all those returners always benefits with Will Rogers at the helm, the GM/coach of the team. Will Rogers always does a great job with his bullpen management. They brought their big horse back from the bullpen, Zach Pratt, who's won Mid-Plains League Pitcher of the Year twice. He's back with the A's this year. He pitched last night a little bit. Jeremy Husband, the left-handed slinger, he's back. And then they got like Austin Oldham and Vodder, and they got a lot of guys coming back. So Midwest, you can expect what you can expect. It's going to be probably a very dominant year for them. Sabetha should be interesting. With a new team, it takes a while to really kind of get the flow of things, but an international team, the guys are very, very close in the clubhouse, and that Sabetha team could make a lot of noise. It's just a different kind of look than what we've been accustomed to over the years with the kind of the same crew in Sabetha. But they didn't return a single player, so it's going to take a while for them to really click. But it was a great game last night, down to the wire. It was a perfect opening night for the Mid-Plains League, which is really, really growing. But yeah, that's kind of my observation about last night. It was interesting seeing all those new faces in Sabetha.
Yeah, as you said, the A's always kind of reload, and they're returning 8 out of 10 of their all-star players last year, and Sabetha is returning 0, including none of their 3-headed monster of their pitching staff coming back, which was Diego Oquendo, Samuel Mendez, and Emmanuel Cabrera, all gone this year.
Yeah, and you can even look at that and say Daniel Castillo, who was a big part of that starting rotation. Castillo just had such a good life on his fastball and everything, and it was always good to see him come out. But Oquendo this year, he is taking a role with the Sabetha Bravos coaching staff because of how many innings he threw at Peru State, which is where he plays college baseball. But the reigning Mid-Plains League Pitcher of the Year is going to be on the coaching staff this year. They lost Cabrera, like you mentioned, Joe, and then they lost Castillo, and they lost all their bullpen guys. They have brand new bullpen guys this year, which I honestly think that the bullpen I saw last night was actually kind of improved from the bullpen we saw last year. But yeah, no, it's definitely a different look. And I think that starting pitching was one of the bright spots of that Sabetha team, who almost made it to the championship last year. I think that was a big part of their squad last year. But even with the new guys, it's just going to be a brand new team. So, but like you mentioned, they took a big hit in starting pitching this year. But I don't think it'll be a huge issue if it's just a whole new core of guys. It's just something else to look at now.
Yeah, it's an all new team, and we have to give a shout out once again to Samuel Mendez. He has the claim to fame of being the oldest MLB draft pick of all time. He was selected by the Brewers at 27 years old, and was probably Sabetha's ace last year.
Yeah, no, he definitely was. I think every time you saw Mendez go up on the hill, you knew exactly what you were going to get. Yeah, high velo, a lot of strikeouts, little walks. And credit to the Mid-Plains League. Honestly, I think the Mid-Plains League provided a lot of help for Mendez to get drafted. There was a lot of material out there, not just in social media, but coaches were providing information on him. And I think Mendez, his success is his success. The league can only do so much, but I think the league didn't make anything worse for him. I think it was good for him to join Sabetha last year and help lead them to that successful season that they did have. But that three-headed monster up on the rotation was insanely good last year. It's really going to be hard for anybody to top that. But that was a great team last year. But yeah, congratulations to Sam Mendez for getting picked by the Brewers. That was an awesome day for everybody involved, and great guy. I was really glad to see him get drafted.
Yeah, and another shout out to the Sabetha Bravos video and social media team. They always do a great job and are a trailblazer to collegiate summer baseball. Obviously, they're not a national name like somebody like the Savannah Bananas, but they hold their own, especially with an international audience.
Yeah, they got thousands and thousands of looks on Instagram. I think there might be over 10,000 followers. I could be wrong. I don't have Instagram pulled up, but I think they might be a tad over 10,000 followers on Twitter or on Instagram.
They are at 22,000 followers on Instagram.
So they are way over 10,000.
Which is crazy. I think they might actually lead the follower count of all the Mid-Plains League teams combined at this point. But they're Sabetha, very new look team. Looking forward to see what they can do. We're going to move on to the other international team, the Topeka Farmers.
Yeah, no, the Topeka Farmers is like we know that they are an international team, and they're bringing a bunch of great prospects from the International Prospect Series that Mid-Plains League puts on down in Venezuela. You get the best looks from the best guys that want to come up and live in Kansas for 2 months in the summer with host families and stuff like that. But, Topeka Farmers is going to be brand new field at McDonald Field in the heart of Topeka. Brand new team, new logo. Everything's still kind of coming together. It takes a while for that stuff to kind of just mesh together. But there's going to be a kind of like the Sabetha Bravos, a lot of new faces that we haven't seen before. But the face that we have seen before is Edgar Santos, who's led the Bravos to many successful seasons over the past few years as the manager for Sabetha. He is now the manager of Topeka, and he is the brains, he is the heart, he is the soul of everything that the Topeka Farmers want. And he is the idea of the Farmers. He is the sole reason why there is another Mid-Plains League team in Topeka this year. So all the credit goes to Edgar Santos for putting this all together. Also give him credit for just giving those international guys another look that deserve the look. And he's bringing those guys from the DR, from Venezuela, up to Topeka to get more looks in the States, to get those college offers. And that's such a big deal, and that's such an important aspect of the Mid-Plains League, is always just getting those guys extra looks that really don't get those looks. And I think that the Topeka Farmers is going to be all about that. I think we're going to see a lot of guys we haven't seen before, and starting tomorrow night, we're gonna get a brand new look of exactly what the Topeka Farmers are, and I'm excited for it. It's always good to have not just one but two international teams in Kansas to bring kind of the highest quality of baseball you possibly can. So it'll be fun. You know what you're going to get because it's going to be similar to Sabetha, but it'll be a blast. I'm looking forward to covering this team. I'm excited to see what Edgar brought up from the DR, from Venezuela. You know, he even branched out last year in Sabetha and recruited a kid from Japan, Takiro Kageyama, who was one of the league leaders in hits and batting average, and he was an all-star. So I'm assuming he's going to bring up quite a few all-stars this year to the Topeka Farmers.
Yeah, the Bravos were one of my favorite teams to watch last year. They were always very fun, not just on the field, but even off the field. And having double of that would it's going to be a great improvement to the league in general, and something that you all should watch out for. We're going to move on to the next team in Kansas, or in the Mid-Plains League. Ryan Goodwin remains at the helm for the Lawrence Travelers' second season in the league.
Yeah, and that Lawrence Travelers League, our team did a really good job last year. And, you know, the record wasn't fantastic for Ryan Goodwin's squad, but last year the league was as competitive as I've ever seen it. But, you know, he had some great starting pitching last year that's also returning this year. But Ryan Goodwin always seems to do a really good job just getting those guys back. And Next Level itself always does such a good job getting kids, and I think that the Travelers are definitely going to step up from last year. They know what the league is like now. They know what the competition's kind of like, but it'll be. I think that team and that nucleus was as tight as I saw from any team last year. It seemed like that group was very, very close last year. I think that's one thing that Ryan Goodwin and the coaching staff kind of inflict on their players and the coaching staff. It's like it's a very close, tight-knit group. So I think that's going to be a big part of the step forward this year for Lawrence. And I think that the Travelers are definitely going to return some of the key players. You and I mentioned there's going to be a couple leaving from that team off air, but for the most part, I think Lawrence is pretty set. You know, they had some really, really good starting pitching last year, and they also had a lot of good bats. And I think that's only, you know, with a year off and all these other guys, and you know they're so close. I think it's only going to improve this year. So that's going to be one of the kind of the sleeper teams this year. It's like, you know, Lawrence got kind of overlooked as the new team last year, and they lost some close games against some really good teams, but I think Lawrence is definitely taking a step forward this year, and I think they're going to be kind of respected this year and taken for what they got instead of kind of just an add-on team. I think they're a part of the league, and I think what they're bringing is definitely good for the league. So I'm excited to see that Lawrence team this year, Joe. I don't know about you, but I think there's some of those guys there. It's going to be so much fun to watch.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I think Goodwin has done a pretty good job of advancing the Baker University baseball team, who had arguably by far their most successful season in probably a decade. So props to him on that. But there's another team that might even have claim to be the more Baker University team, which is the Baldwin City Blues.
Yeah, Joe, and I mean you were there at their practice today, and you know a lot about kind of the Blues upbringing and who they are. And last year, the Blues really, really took that step forward. I think the Blues were the most improved team last year, and I think, you know, I mentioned this before, but we talked off air about those teams that really took a step forward. I think Baldwin City took the biggest step forward. I think they took the giant step forward that most teams wanted to take, but they are returning a lot of guys that had major impact on that team last year that made it to the semifinal round of the Cowden Cup Championship. You look at their starting pitching improved so much with Baker University standout Logan Whelan, and there's a lot of great bats returning. Baldwin City could be that team this year. They could be that team to knock off Junction City. They were just so close in the semifinal round last year to knock off Junction City. They beat Topeka Golden Giants in the first round. But that Baldwin City team is so much improved, and it just keeps getting better and better throughout the years with Michael Moore front and center as the owner, the very proud owner of the Baldwin City Blues, who's also the commissioner of the Mid-Plains League. So proud of that team and so proud of how far it's come. And I think for this year, I wouldn't call it a boom or a bust if they didn't make the Cowden Cup Championship. But if they made the Cowden Cup Championship, I don't think a lot of people would be surprised just because of how much they kind of improved year after year. In 2020, they were the laughingstock. Honestly, they were the laughingstock of the league in terms of win-loss ratio. But in 2021, they come back with a vengeance. They come back playing really, really good baseball in late July. In early August, they're in the Cowden Cup Championship. They're right there. They are one maybe 2 games away from going to the championship game against the Midwest A's. But that Baldwin City team's legit, man. I think that's going to be a team to always circle on your calendar to go visit. Go to Baldwin City and go watch these guys play because they are legit. That is a good group of baseball players, great ownership. The team chemistry is always so good in Baldwin, kind of like Lawrence. It's like that team chemistry is always so good. And I think that's important with the summer ball. If you're playing with each other 5 days a week or whatever, long nights, long days, it's really important to have that chemistry. And Baldwin always seems to have that chemistry. So I think Baldwin's that team this year. I think Baldwin City can honestly win the whole thing this year. I don't think that's a crazy thought, but I think that they could win the whole thing this year.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Blues return a lot of pretty key core members. You have Logan Whalen, like you said, and then you have Tucker Flory, Camden Carlin, Jake Jarrell, Andrew Brubeck, a lot of guys, and Clayton Kaufman, and I'm missing a lot in there, but returning the core, pretty much the core lineup, which, I mean, is really good for a much improved 2021 season. And last but not least, in the Mid-Plains League, how could we forget the Junction City Brigade, the defending Cowden Cup champions?
How could we forget the reigning Cowden Cup champions? Yeah, Junction City could do it. They did it all last year, man. They, after opting out of the 2020 season due to COVID, they come back in 2021 and win the whole thing. They led in important stats like on base percentage and ERA and WHIP, and you can look at all these stats that they led in. They had great guys just batting and pitching for him. Price Allman. They had Thomas Beiswinger, who could. I mean, that dude could swing. Casey Stewart, who's a pitcher at Washburn, he could really throw. Junction City last year was so mind-boggling of how good they were. Just the talent, 1 through 9, the starting rotation, the bullpen. Just so great last year. It wasn't one bit of a surprise that they were going to come back from taking a year off from COVID and come back and win the whole dang thing against the Midwest A's in Belton, Missouri. That was such a good team last year. It was a fun team. Those guys could really, really swing. They had a few walk-off wins last year that I think gave them kind of a boost in momentum, but Junction City, I think if Junction City and Baldwin City land on the opposite side of brackets, I think that those two can meet this year. But Junction City's they're going to be great. They're getting a couple former Topeka Golden Giants from last year onto that team that are legit players that contributed to the success that the Topeka Golden Giants had last year. I think they got the best outfielder in the entire league and Sean Marcus on their team now. Yeah, Junction City's got a lot going for them this year after following a championship year.
Yeah, for sure. And they easily have probably maybe the best atmosphere in the league, one of the best stadiums in the league. They'll once again host the Mid Plains League All Star Game. Um, Another one like Baldwin City, if you ever get the chance, mark it on your calendar to go to a Junction City Brigade home game. They're always a treat for sure. We're gonna look at the matchups for the 3 game series for the week in the Mid Plains League. The Midwest A's are off. They were supposed to play this week, but their final 2 games against Sabetha are being played as a doubleheader next Sunday. So the first big matchup is the Lawrence Travelers are playing a 3-game series Thursday, Friday, Saturday against Topeka, and Lawrence is home for all 3 of those games.
Yeah, I think that the Midwest A's are definitely going to need an off day after traveling all the way to Sabetha, Kansas yesterday. But yeah, I think that always benefits, especially in the summertime, when it starts ramping up to 4 games, 5 games a week. Those off days are widely appreciated. So I think the Midwest A's getting some time off is going to be well needed. But with the heavy rainfall that we got today and last night, there could possibly be some postponements in our future. Not saying for sure, but you never know. There possibly could be some postponements. So we kind of have to keep our eye on that. But there are some intriguing matchups tomorrow that I kind of have circled on the calendar and on Friday. So, like you mentioned earlier, kind of like get to Rayford Stadium if you can in Junction City. That game day atmosphere is as good as it comes. And on Friday, Junction City, I think, is hosting Baldwin City. That'll be fun. Kind of a rematch of where it ended for Baldwin City last year. So, yeah, pretty intriguing week this week to kind of get things started. Started off with a bang last night with Midwest and Sabetha, the rematch of the 2020 Cotton Cup Championship. But yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. A lot of intriguing matchups, but with the heavy rainfall that Mother Nature provides Kansas, you never know.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, an uncommon 2-game series. Sabetha will play the Kansas City Monarchs. No, not those Kansas City Monarchs, but they'll play them in a 2-game series where in the league they typically play a 1-game series.
Yeah, Sabetha is supposed to be going to it's either Liberty or Independence tomorrow. They'll play the Monarchs. Yeah, not the Monarchs, but there's another group of Monarchs that actually play the legit Monarchs in KCK. They play each other. It's very confusing. But the Kansas City Monarchs were there before the Kansas City T-Bones renamed their team the Monarchs, paying homage to the past. The New Leagues team is in the past. But, yeah, Sabetha is going to be the Road Warriors this week and head to Missouri. It's always quite the drive to go to Liberty, Missouri to Sabetha, Kansas. Always quite the travel. But, like that will actually be one of those games I'm going to be really, really curious to see how it turns out, because Sabetha's new core, how are they going to do against the experienced veterans of the Kansas City Monarchs? It's going to be interesting to see. But I don't think it's going to be any issue. And I think that's probably going to be a pretty entertaining game.
Yeah, for sure. The Monarchs are never eligible for our playoffs, but they always put up quite the fight against all of our teams, which they each play twice in the year. And it'll be interesting for Sabetha to play them back-to-back, where usually a team will play them maybe early to mid-season and then late season later. And Sabetha's getting both games out of the way in 2 days.
Yeah. So that will be really intriguing to see. I don't think that the Monarchs are actually they are really, really good for the league. They always have something new. They always have really, really good pitching. Their head coach is also their starting pitcher, and a lot of guys have gray beards, but they always seem to play baseball very, very well. If you haven't been to a Kansas City Monarchs game versus any of the playoff eligible Mid Plains League teams, you definitely should. It's quite the experience.
One of our hidden gems is the Monarchs. We're now going to move on from the Mid Plains League, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Sunflower League. Neither me nor Isaac has a terribly expansive amount of knowledge on these teams, but we're just going to kind of at least highlight their non-league games and then upcoming series so that you, the listener, can have these on your radar. So starting off, the Hayesville Aviators will they're playing 2 non-league games this week. As we speak, actually, one of them is being played right now. They're both at home. The game tonight is the Park City Rangers, and tomorrow is the Midwest Moose. And then they'll play the Kingman Islanders in a 2-game series in Kingman on the 4th and 5th. The Great Bend Batcats also start their season tonight against the McPherson Pipeliners at home, and then they will play the Hazelarks in a home-and-home on the 2nd and 3rd. And then they'll play Dirtbag on the 4th, and then they're going to be the first team to play against the new rebranded 316 Elite in a doubleheader on the 5th.
Yeah, and there's we touched on it at the beginning of the podcast, but like 316 Elite in the Sunflower League, it's there's an interesting amount of teams like the Chimie Diamond Dogs and the Derby Twins and the Hutchinson Monarchs. There's a good variety of teams with the Newton Slugging Rebels at the helm now. It's going to be a fun year. I'm looking forward to kind of you and I having off-air conversations and expanding our knowledge on these kids that are in this league. It's so good getting to know these kids. You and I have been around the Mid Plains League quite a bit. I've been around since 2020. Joe's working specifically with the league and a team this year, so it's like we're going to get to know these kids super well. I'm really looking forward to getting to know these kids that are playing in the Sunflower League that are making baseball great, that are kind of that really want to make it to the big time. They want to not necessarily pay their dues, but show off their stuff. This is what it's all about. This is what summer ball is all about, is promotion. And I'm really looking forward with you, Joe, kind of just promoting these kids and getting them that look that they all deserve.
Yeah, for sure. And even despite my limited knowledge of the league, I always know that a lot of these teams will make a pretty deep run in the NBC World Series. Cheney made a pretty deep run last year, and I'm looking forward to, at the end of the season, covering that and hopefully seeing those teams do it again.
Yeah, and as I think that we have some good resources that are going to help us out too, out in Wichita and in the Butler County area, that are going to help us out with some things. But yeah, Joe, I agree 100%. Kind of like what we're going to talk about soon is the Kansas League and the Rocky Mountain League. I think just getting to know these kids and reading up on their stories and seeing how they perform is going to be huge, not just for us, but just for everybody in general. I think that's going to be such a good thing. And with the expansion of content, and content so important to everything we do now, I think that not just expanding our minds outside of the Mid Plains League, I think is just huge. So like you mentioned, just looking forward to everything, getting to know these kids in the Sunflower League, the Kansas League, the Rocky Mountain League, and of course the Mid Plains League.
Yeah, there's no shortage of good baseball in the state of Kansas. As we move to the Kansas Collegiate League, the Kansas Curve began their season already on Memorial Day by playing their 18U team, which they won 7-6. They're playing right now at Dirtbag, one of the other teams in the Kansas Collegiate League. A lot of them are playing tonight and throughout the week are playing non-league games against primarily Sunflower League teams. And I'm Really looking forward to seeing, for example, the El Dorado Walnuts play this year as the new team in the league.
Yeah, 100%. That I love the new, like, the creative. The baseball is boring narrative has gotten in some people's heads, and and the Savannah Bananas have been a large part of making baseball fun for everybody. And I think just the names, like the El Dorado Walnuts, that's fantastic. That's one of the top names in the state is the El Dorado Walnuts.
Yeah, one thing I've always loved about baseball, especially summer ball, is the kind of zany and wacky names you hear. We'll cover throughout the year other teams in across the country. There's a bunch of crazy ones. For example, the Portland Pickles, or even the Midwest Moos. I don't think any professional major league team would name themselves after a cow, but it's been done.
It has been done, and the state of Kansas can proudly claim it.
One day we'll have to get the Midwest Moos to take on the Fremont Moo of the Independence League to to do the Battle of the Beef or something like that. I think would
100%.
be
Oh, that sounds like a great exhibition game, and the theme better be beef related or cow related. For all my vegans out there, we'll just make it cow related. But well, I would pay money to go see that.
I think it would be really cool, and we would always love to see more exhibition games between the leagues.
There was a couple of exhibition games last year between the Mid Plains League and the Kansas League that we got to see. And I think these schedules are so tight, and it's hard to get these games in as is, but that would be fun. I would love to see more exhibition games. I know the kids probably don't want to travel very much, but I think the experience and just I think exhibition games are always just so much fun. It doesn't feel as restricted and as tight. It's more loosey goosey and more freeing. So yeah, I agree 100% with you, Joe. I just think that the freedom of exhibition games just make it so much fun.
Yeah, for sure. I think the exhibitions where you really get to see the kids let loose, and you're not playing for much stakes besides pride, so kids really just kind of relax and play probably their best baseball, and you always play your best baseball when you have fun. But we're gonna look now at the Kansas teams of the Rocky Mountain League. Eventually, we'll branch out into all the Rocky Mountain League teams, but just previewing some of their games. Hayes plays four games this week. We highlighted their home and home against Great Bend on the 2nd and 3rd, and they also have a home 2-game series against the Boulder Collegians of the Mile High League on the 4th and 5th. And then Dodge City and Liberal will start their Rocky Mountain League careers with a home and home on the 3rd and 4th, which I think will be a great baptism by fire of those two teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of mentioned with the Sunflower League and a little bit of the Kansas League. It's gonna be so good to. I finally, I have you now, Joe, to where we can really kind of put our focus in these different aspects and these different kids that sometimes we overshadow or forget to highlight. I think that's going to be so much fun. And the Rocky Mountain League's produced so many good baseball players over the years. And we're going to have so many different guests on that could kind of fill us in on this stuff. But yeah, no, the Rocky Mountain Baseball League, like you mentioned, it's just going to be good. The quality of teams and the quality of players that come out of that league is always just top notch. So it's a good time to just go out to the ballpark. I know COVID's still a thing, but you can go out to the ballpark and support these kids. Give your time, your effort, your energy towards watching some of the best baseball you'll ever see, because that team in Kansas City, Missouri, quite frankly, just stinks. So go in the summertime, go visit these teams that will be competitive and that aren't going to finish with a 16-33 record. Just go spend your time and energy on different different kids that deserve your attention, not a slight shade, not the team in the westernmost part of Missouri.
Yeah. Have root for a baseball team that you can take pride in this summer and support the local kids, support the local community. They always appreciate it, especially there's so many teams in Kansas that are based in pretty small towns, and the local community always appreciates it and gets behind it. And we're looking to bring their recognition to a wider audience. One last thing I'm going to not talk about, but is a question for you, Isaac. Is there any other outside of Kansas leagues that you're looking forward to that haven't started just yet?
I always have my eyes on the Coastal Carolina League. I think that is a really good league to kind of pay attention to, because those kids are kind of from all over the place. There was a kid from the Topeka Golden Giants last year that went to the Coastal Carolina League late in the year. That had a lot of success, and he really enjoyed being in that league. But I really, really paid attention to the Coastal Carolina League. Last year when one of the former players from the Giants went, and that was a really, really high quality league that produced, not just a lot of talent, but a lot of fun. That game day experience is so important. And I think that, as we see with some of these teams, they're trying to not necessarily copy, but they want to kind of improve their fan bases, improve the quality, not just the product on the field, but, off the field and what you see in the stands. And I think the Coastal Carolina League is a really good league to watch. I think you can gain a lot from watching those games. And, it always brings up good ideas to improve players, to improve player relations with fans and all that other stuff. So the Coastal Carolina League is just so much fun to watch. I don't know about you, Joe. I don't know if you have any particular one in mind that you can think of right off the bat, but that's the one that I really think of that's going to be one to kind of keep your eye on.
Yeah, the Coastal Plain League is always one of the most, probably biggest leagues. Obviously, when you have the Savannah Bananas in your league, you get a lot of national attention, and even Kansas has some local ties. Lane Harvey, who's an assistant coach at Washburn, is the manager for the newly rebranded Florence Flamingos, so it'll be cool to have a kind of Kansas tie there. But some of the leagues that I guess I'm looking at, I'm kind of looking at all of them. Some leagues that I've started to follow already, that I've already started, would be the Independence League, which is probably, it goes from as far south as Nebraska, as far west as Idaho, and as far north as North Dakota, which is a really cool league. I've been watching a few of their games, as well as the West Coast League. Really, really enjoying following them. The Northwoods League just kicked off, so looking to cover them a little more. And then a big one that starts tomorrow, actually, is the Appalachian League and the MLB Draft League. Both start.
That's awesome. I'm now that summer baseball is in full swing. It's just going to be so much content that we're just going to have to keep up with everything. And I'd rather be busy doing that than anything else in the world. I'm looking forward to it, Joe.
Yeah, for sure. And another league that we maybe neglected to mention was the Ban Johnson League, which is played in Parkville, Missouri, which is a suburb of Kansas City. Ban Johnson League has always been pretty prestigious, and in fact includes a few of the Mid-Plains League teams even started in that league. They started this yesterday, so we'll start to cover them. They have a lot of Kansas athletes, and we'll try to keep an eye on them. Actually, their games from tonight got rained out, but they will be they'll be one to look at for sure, and really looking forward to covering pretty much any league we can think of, and we hope to bring you, the viewers, or listeners rather, the experience and our passion for baseball.
100%. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this summer, Joe. I appreciate the idea of starting this up, and I think it's a great idea. And it's gonna, summer baseball coverage you can never get enough of, and I hope that either we have tens or hundreds or whoever's listening, just know that we have a deep passion for this stuff, and we're going to be fully locked into the baseball, not just in Kansas, but around the country. I don't think you have two better guys to kind of talk to you about this stuff. So, yeah, thank you guys for listening. We do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you all if you've made it this far. We really appreciate it. I guess we ask that you subscribe to the Sunflower Sports Network for more of the Summer Ball Talk episodes. We'll try and bring you one about once a week. Right now we don't have a consistent release date. We'll talk that over and get that all to you. We're going to work on putting the podcast on Spotify so you can listen to it in the car while mowing the lawn or in the background or whatever. And yeah, if you're listening to this, comment below your favorite summer ball team, or who you're looking at for this summer, because we really appreciate just kind of trying to hear that, and we appreciate good feedback.
We sure do. Yep. I don't think that we can get enough of the feedback and everything else. Any little thing helps. If you think there's somebody that we missed out on, or a team or a league we missed out on, just let us know. We'll make sure we get it covered next time.
Yes, and next week we'll for sure have more content, as more games will be in swing, and we'll kind of get an idea of what we're listening for. So thank you for bearing with us in this first episode. Hope you have a good day, night, morning, evening, whenever you're listening to this. So, and once again, make sure to get out and support your local teams. It's always important. So, thank you for listening, and we hope you have a good day.